There you go. So welcome to this 6-week atelier. You are welcome to have your videos on, off. You can have, you can stay completely anonymous the whole time. So please don't feel obliged to engage in any of the discussions or any of the chats. As I'm recording, when I'm moving into a shared discussion, I'm going to press pause on the recording. And then the invitation is for anybody who's accessing the session outside of the group that they can journal or sit and reflect over the questions that we'll be exploring. So this is a 6-week course, and it's basically anybody who's done the mindfulness-based stress reduction or looked into it. My supervisor would be livid with me for running this course in the way that I am. But the reason that I'm running it in the way that I am is, as an occupational therapist, the 8-week course and the way that it's prescribed is so prescriptive, and it's so it's almost reductionist in the way that who it's offered to. Everything has to be well. You have to be in a really good place to be doing the 8-week course. And most part, the people who are seeking to do mindfulness work, then they're not in that frame of mind. They're really looking for something to support them with stress, pain management. And so what I've done is I have taken some bits of the mindfulness-based stress reduction and mindfulness cognitive therapy and woven in some occupational therapy tools. Because also one of the things with the course was that it required 40 minutes every day of meditation, and that's very daunting, and was the reason I think why my journey into mindfulness took me a lot longer, because finding 40 minutes every day was just so unrealistic, and sitting with myself and my own experiences for 40 minutes just felt impossible. I had young twins who were probably about 18 months old at the time, and they were waking up at 4:43. So in order to do the training, the teacher training, which I've done, I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And the only reason I persevered is because I was doing it for my job. So that's kind of my history into it. I fell into mindfulness because I was told that somebody on our team in the psychiatric hospital had to do the training. And I thought it was going to be the easy option. And it was anything but the easy option. I think it would have been a lot easier to have done a master's and done an essay. But the outcome of it has had such an amazing impact on my life. And then the more that I've studied it and the more that I've explored it, the science is now showing that 10 minutes every day is enough to be rewiring our brains, to be activating our parasympathetic nervous systems. So this prescriptive 40 minutes every day is it's a lot to ask, but B, it's actually showing that maybe it's just not necessary. The length doesn't matter, it's the doing it regularly and consistently. So what we're going to be doing and exploring together is these practices, and the hope is that they'll support you to live a more joyful life and give you some tools to be managing life when it gets lifey, which is all the time. Anyway, so let me just share a little bit about what we're doing before we begin. Oh, this is so small. Oh my God, I forgot which one it is. This one. Okay, so it's 6 weeks. It's going to be 1 hour. If you can't attend the session live, I'll send it to you. I'll send you this recording. We'll begin with kind of like a 5 to 10 minute check-in each week. We'll do a 20 to 30 minute practice. We'll see how you get on. If 30 minutes is too long, we can do 2 shorter practices. Then we'll have 10 minutes to discuss. We'll have some teaching slot, and then we'll close with a practice as well. And you'll have home practice, which is actually the key to the learning. So what we're exploring today is automatic pilot, which is our habitual doing mode. So if you've ever watched a toddler trying to tie their shoelaces, you will see where automatic pilot is amazing. So we don't have to think about doing our shoelaces. If we had to put that much effort into everything that we did, everything would just take so long. And we're not aiming to live like monks. What we're going to be working on over the next 6 weeks is establishing a mindfulness practice about bringing ourselves into the present moment and into the mundane and everyday elements of our lives, which actually make up most of our day. So automatic pilot is very useful. However, it becomes very unhelpful when we lose our keys, when we forget what we've done with things, and it can lead to us being frustrated and actually making tasks take a lot longer. So we're going to begin stepping out of this habitual doing mode to paying attention intentionally, mindfully, and anchoring in the body and the sensations that we experience there. So before we begin, I want you to just have a think about what your intention is for this space. So just closing your eyes and just taking a few deep breaths. So breathing in through the nose, holding for 4, and breathing out for 4. Holding for 4, breathing in for 5. Holding for 4 and breathing out for 5. Holding for 4. And then returning your breath to its natural rhythm. So just simply breathing in and breathing out. And while we're here with your eyes closed, I want you to have a think about what your intention is for this course, for this space. Thinking about what attitude you need to bring. And then opening your eyes. So I'm just going to pause the recording and see if there are any questions before we begin. Okay. So just setting yourself up, getting comfortable, getting any props you need. If you need any blankets, any extra cushions, if you need to quickly go and get a glass of water or pop to the loo, just making sure that you're comfortable, setting yourself up for as much success as possible with this practice. And just also remembering that there's no right or wrong way of doing any of these practices. It's simply the commitment to taking this time to explore and have a go. So let's begin. And just having a sense of arrival, feeling the points of contact that your body is making with the earth. And narrowing your attention to the breath. Simply breathing in and breathing out. And knowing that the breath is always there as an anchor for you within the practice. And perhaps exploring the breath and finding a point within it that's most vivid for you today that you can use to anchor yourself every time your mind wanders, because it will, because that's what minds do, it's their job. So every time you notice that your mind has wandered off into one of the many marvelous stories that you have, congratulate yourself for noticing and gently guide yourself back to this point within the breath that you can anchor yourself in. So it's like a quick return. So maybe it's the nostrils, or the back of the throat, or the rise and fall of your belly. And if the breath doesn't feel like a space you want to be with, finding a point within the body that's neutral, that's got no story attached to it. Maybe your left eyebrow, or the crown of your head, or the space between your eyebrows, or your left earlobe. Something neutral that when your mind's wandered off, you can gently pull yourself back. We're calling it an anchor, like with a boat that's anchored in the sea, that it kind of wanders off, but every time it gets too far, it gets pulled back. Almost like a puppy on a lead, or a child that's wandering off. You gently guide them back onto the path. And once you've found that point, just returning your attention to your body, breathing here in this moment. And just acknowledging the fact that you've taken the time out of your busy lives to be here, to practice mindfulness. Not easy. Brave thing to do. By doing so, you're taking an active step in taking care of your own health and well-being. Simply giving it a go. Remembering that my instructions are simply a guide. The words don't suit you. You've got other ways of describing things, and you listen to that. That's what we're learning here, to pay attention, learn the language of our bodies. As we practice as a group, different parts of the world, sharing this space and this time together. Now I'd like you to narrow your attention, bring your focus to your left foot. What, if anything, can you notice here? Where is your foot no longer your foot? So you're shining a spotlight or a torch beam, or maybe a little brush. I had one person describe that they would colour themselves in. So finding a way of exploring your body, checking in with it, your left foot, your toes, the ball of the feet, the arch, the heel. What can you notice? Does your left foot feel hot or cold, tingling? Are there shapes, colours, textures? Being playful and curious and interested. Narrowing your attention to your left little toe. What can you notice here, if anything? Our little toes are so important in helping us be balanced. And they're quite difficult to notice when they're not causing us discomfort. So an invitation to explore your left little toe, and what, if anything, you can feel here. And if you can't feel anything, what exactly is that nothingness? And then widening your attention again to the whole of the left foot. And then moving your attention away from the left foot altogether and bringing your attention to your left lower leg. So between the ankle joint and the knee joint. The muscle, the bone, the ligament, the tendons. Perhaps noticing the points of contact that it's making with the earth. Are there bits that stand out more than others? Are there shapes? Are there colours? Are there textures? Assuming the stance of an impartial witness to your experience, Noticing the stream of your judging mind as it desperately tries to think about something a bit more interesting than your left lower leg. Congratulating yourself for noticing, bringing yourself back. 1,000 times your mind will wander, 1,000 times, bringing it back 1,000 times to that anchor that you found in the body or breath, and then returning your attention to the body when you're ready. And in this instance, the left lower leg. What, if anything, you can notice here? And now moving your attention away from the left lower leg to the left upper leg, so between the knee joint and the hip joint, the thigh bone. What is most present here? What's least present? Does it feel heavy or light? The colours, shapes, textures, temperatures. Now an invitation to expand your awareness to include the left leg as a whole, so from the hip joint down to the toes. And an invitation to be playful with your breath and picture breathing into your left leg and breathing out of your left leg. And remembering this is an invitation. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. Simply breathe in and breathe out. But if you do decide to breathe into your left leg and out of your left leg, finding a way, an analogy that works for you, maybe like blowing up a balloon or pouring air down the leg. Maybe you're breathing in and out of your toes. We're practicing a very specific and deliberate way of paying attention. Be playful, be curious. Taking this time to be with your body, but for the most part, gets on with what it needs to do with very little intervention from you, just does it. Doesn't need any reward. Often gets criticism for letting us down. We're just spending some time being with our bodies, our left leg, being playful with that breath. And now moving your attention away from the left leg altogether, moving across to the right hip and down the right leg to your right foot. And shining that spotlight of your attention, torch being the magnifying glass, exploring your right foot and what, if anything, is most vivid here today. Fresh curiosity. Open to the wonder of your right foot. The heel, the arch, the toes, the nail beds, the joints, the ligaments, the tightness of the skin at the top, the different textures underneath. And what can you notice? What's interesting? What's there? And then narrowing your attention to that little toe, that right little toe that goes fairly unnoticed until you bang it against the chair leg or it rubs on your shoe. Taking time to simply be with your right little toe. And then expanding your awareness to include the right foot as a whole. Where does your foot begin and end? Is there a line, a jagged edge for you when you picture your right foot? And is it no longer your foot? These boundaries and edges that we create. And then moving your attention away from the right foot altogether to the right lower leg, the space between the ankle and the knee joint. The calf, shin, the bone, ligaments. Does it feel light or heavy, warm, cold? They're tingling. Is there a bit that stands out more than another? Now moving your attention away from your right lower leg to your right upper leg and the space between the knee joint and the hip joint. What's vivid for you here? What can you notice? Allowing it to be as it is, your right upper leg. As we practice being, doing, simply being present to our experiences as they are, as a whole, moving away from judging them. And now an invitation to expand your awareness to include all of the right leg and be playful with that breath again. Remembering, only if it feels right for you. You don't have to do this. You can simply breathe, focus on that anchor, or be playful with that breath, breathing into the right leg and breathing out of the right leg. Perhaps giving a sense of spaciousness, perhaps not. Letting go of any expectations. Simply allowing your experience to be as it is. You don't need to change anything, you don't need to fix anything. And then moving your attention away from the right leg altogether and bringing the spotlight of your attention to your trunk area. We're going to do a cross section here. So the pelvis, the sacrum, buttocks, the lower back. So perhaps the space below the belly button. The softness, hardness of the bone, the organs that are cradled here that need space to move and do their thing. What, if anything, can you notice here? What's least vivid? What's the quietest bit of this part of your body? Can you give that a bit of attention? And then narrowing your attention to perhaps bits of the body that stand out a little bit more, maybe because there's pleasant sensations or unpleasant sensations there. The lower back can be a bit of a juicy spot. What can you notice here now? What are the sensations? Do they have a texture, a shape, a colour? They move? Are they constant? And then moving your attention away from the lower part of the trunk to the middle part of the trunk. So the belly button to the lower chest, the sides of the ribs, the middle back. Maybe you can notice the gentle rise and fall of your breath. Maybe your stomach is rumbling, maybe it's digesting food. We've got a multitude of organs here. Kidneys, liver, pancreas, gallbladder. Might not have all of those. Can you notice what's there, what's present, what sensations, if any, are here? being curious and kind. And of course, bringing that mind back every time it's wandered off. And now bringing your attention away from the middle part of the trunk to the upper part of the body. So the shoulders, the upper chest, the collarbone, shoulder blades, the upper back. What's here for you? What's present? Perhaps you can notice the subtle beat of your heart as it does its thing. Without any direct attention from you. And then expanding your awareness from the upper chest to include the middle trunk and the lower trunk, and holding the trunk in your mind's eye as a whole, and an invitation to be playful with that breath again, simply breathing in and breathing out. Filling each nook and cranny. Now moving your attention away from the trunk altogether and bringing your attention to your arms. So we're going to explore both arms at the same time, the left arm and the right hand, going all the way down to your hands. What can you notice here? What shape do they take? Do they have temperature, colour, texture, all those nerve endings? You feel tingling. They feel tired, achy, pleasant, unpleasant. Giving equal attention to all. And letting go of that tendency to want to hold on to the pleasant and get rid of the unpleasant. We're giving equal space to all. And now moving your attention away from your hands to your lower arms between the wrist and the elbow joint. What's here? The softness of the underside of the arm. The point of contact that they're making with the earth, and perhaps with your body. And then moving your attention away from the lower arms to the upper arms between the elbow joint and the shoulder joint. What's here? The bicep, the tricep, a bone. Letting your experience be as it is. Perhaps you can notice the warmth of your armpits or the coolness. Maybe your breath is pushing your arms away a little bit. Really subtle movement. And then just taking a few moments to hold your arms as a whole in your mind's eye and breathing into the space of your arms and breathing out if that feels right for you. Breathing all the way down to the hands and back again. Perhaps you're breathing in through your fingers. Remembering that my guidance is simply that, guidance. There's no right or wrong way of doing this practice. And now moving your attention away from your arms altogether and bringing the spotlight of your attention to your neck. The back of the neck, the front of the neck, the throat. The air that travels in and out. You're swallowing. Your body knows where to send bits. Knows where to send the air and the saliva. It generally gets it right unless we gobble our food. Get surprised while we're eating. I mean, we're learning to pay attention to our bodies as they are. We often only pay attention to them when they are causing us discomfort or pleasure. Moving your attention away from your neck to your scalp. That's the point of contact with the earth or the air. And then moving your attention to your face. Perhaps noticing any points of tension, tightness, your eyebrows, your eye sockets, your nose, your cheekbones, your teeth. Where does your tongue rest in your mouth? Your chin, your lips. Can you slide your tongue over the inside of your lips? That little opening allows you to communicate, to eat, to drink. And then widening your awareness from your face to your scalp, to your neck, your arms, your trunk, your left leg, your right leg, and holding your body in your mind's eye as a whole. Perhaps being playful with that breath and breathing into each nook and cranny as you wish. Holding your body as a whole in your mind's eye. And then narrowing your attention back to your breath. Keep breathing in and breathing out. Perhaps noticing the pauses. I'm going to read a poem by Dawn Markova. I will not die an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling or catching fire. I choose to inhabit my days, to allow my living to open me, to make me less afraid, more accessible, to loosen my heart until it becomes a wing, a torch, a promise. I choose to risk my significance to live so that which came to me as seed goes to the next as blossom. And that which came to me as blossom goes on as fruit. So moving and stretching in whatever way your body feels called to do. I am going to pause the recording, and the invitation for those who are doing it at home is to take some time to reflect about your experience of the practice, and as best you can, your direct experience of your body and what you noticed. Pausing the recording for maybe 5 minutes. Unpause. Okay. So this is where I'm going to be squinting at the screen, so excuse the extreme shots of my nostrils. Okay, here we go. I think it was this one. And then, okay, wish me luck on that. Okay, so I mentioned at the beginning that we're going to be looking at the automatic pilot. So this idea of this great skill that we have in being able to get dressed, to brush our teeth, look at our phone, do a million things at the same time is very helpful, but it can also be a really unhelpful habit of ours. So we can fall into traps around our thoughts, feelings, and sensations around experiences. So with the mindfulness practices, we're going to be looking specifically at autopilot this week. So we've meditated, we've used attention to direct to different parts of the body as a focus to anchor awareness in the moment. And then through the home practice, you'll be training yourself to put awareness and attention into different places at will. So we're going to be looking at everyday mindfulness. So I want you to have a think now about something that you can do and look at every day. So something like brushing your teeth, tying your shoelace, a mindful cup of tea, washing up, maybe a shower. Something that you do every day, making your bed. Just have a think now about what that could be. Perhaps just closing your eyes, have a think about your day and something that you do every day. And I want you to pick one thing that you stick with for the week ahead. So when you're thinking about this activity, you're going to be, for example, brushing your teeth. It's don't need to be really, really creative or do anything really wacky with any of these things. Like we were saying at the beginning, we're looking at the mundane and ordinary of life, which make up most of our days. So, for example, the 3 minutes that you're brushing your teeth, would you ordinarily be looking at your phone or watching the television or tidying up? Can you just simply brush your teeth and be aware of the textures and the movements that you're making? How maybe you start on one side and then you move to the other, and then you do the bottom teeth, and then noticing your tongue and the taste and the textures and how you move your hand, how you stand, and then the textures of the tap and putting the toothbrush underneath the tap, or the noises if you use an electric toothbrush. So really breaking down the task into being really present in the same way that you have done in the body scan, of how your body knows exactly what to do at each moment, but by slowing it down and paying attention, we can look at, I suppose it gives us an opportunity to really look at how amazing we are as well. That we have this ability to just do these things without having to focus in the way that toddler does with their shoelace. And then the other thing I'm going to ask you to do every day is to do a body scan, but it's a 10-minute practice. So finding a time within your day that you can do that, and you can experiment with that. Obviously you've done today, so Monday is done. The invitation is for six more practices over the week ahead. So finding a time within your day, maybe you'll try morning, maybe you'll try lunch, maybe you'll try evening, and experimenting with that. And this is what with the neural pathways, this is what cements it. So if you were looking at a wood, you'll see the tracks that a deer will have made. And the invitation is to look at the grassy area around that path, and that you can create new pathways. And we'll get into that more over the weeks. But by having more paths, you've got more options of getting to where you need to go. You don't have to follow the same route that you always do. You can maybe go around the trees. You can maybe go over the trees. I don't know. So we'll be exploring that in more depth later. But yeah, so practicing the 10-minute body scan. And I'm also going to show you this. So in your handouts, this is the Mindful Attention Awareness Scale. And this is just to give you an idea of where you're at now in terms of mindfulness, about how present you are in your daily life. So each question, and The form is a standardized assessment that is available freely online, but none of them have got the numbers on, so I've added it in myself, which is why that looks a bit rubbish. So for each of the questions, it's 15, I want you to have a look at whether you experience these almost always or almost never on a scale of 1 to 6. So this is your day-to-day experiences. So for example, question 1, I'm not going to do it now, you can do this in your own time. I could be experiencing some emotion and not be conscious of it until some time later. So almost always, 2, very frequently, 3, somewhat frequently, 4, somewhat infrequently, 5, very infrequently, or 6, almost never. And if you want to send me your scores, you can. If you want to just keep them for yourself, that's absolutely fine. And obviously, we're going to look at this again at the end of the course. So being as honest as you can and going with that kind of instinct response to the question, it gives us an interesting reference point for the end of the course. So this is what the handout looks like with the home practice. So you can use this, and there's a link at the top to the practice. So hopefully it should be a fairly simple tool to use, and then you can say whether you practiced. If you didn't practice, why didn't you? Again, there's no right or wrong way of doing this, but if you're not having the time to do a 10-minute body scan, what's that about? Why was it so hard? What's going on that your day is so busy that you don't have 10 minutes for yourself? It's interesting, it's good information. If you can't do it, this is good information for your well-being. Okay. So I'm gonna pause the recording here, and then if you're watching this at home and you've got any questions, write me an email at this point. Okay. Okay, so we're going to close with a breathing space. So this is a practice that we'll be exploring over the weeks, and it will become more and more familiar. So as you are, you can have your eyes open or closed. Just want you to have a sense of your body right now, the points of contact that you're making with the earth. Just taking a moment to shine that spotlight around your body as a whole, like you did in the body scan. Whatever analogy worked for you, just checking in. How are you? How's your body? Taking this time to learn its language and listen to the messages that go so ignored when we're tired, when we're hungry, when we're sad, and things that we push away. Just taking a moment to simply drop into our bodies and pay attention as they are. And then narrowing your attention to your breath. If you're breathing in and breathing out, you don't need to change anything. Simply being with your experience as it is. Narrowing your focus to the breath. And then expanding your awareness to include all of the body. Breathing the space above you, beneath you, beside you. Where do you begin and end? And as best you can, taking this sense of connection and awareness into whatever you have left to do with your day. So I'll be sending out all the handouts with all the information, what we've gone through today, what you've explored, a little bit about the body scan, some bits about the meditation, and for you to have a little look through in your own time, and obviously the links to the practices. So as I said, if you need anything, just reach out. Pause recording.